Before you can acquire a partner, you must first embark on the process of dating, which often presents highs and lows of differing magnitudes. It's no secret that dating can be tough, and some observers believe that the dating arena has become exacerbated over the last few decades. This increase in arduousness has been attributed to social media, dating apps, and the erosion of moral values, among other factors. Hardly the news you'd like to hear if you're still active as far as dating is concerned. Regardless of this observation, there are still numerous people who wish to go on dates, find a suitable partner, and spend many years with them. Fulfilling this objective is obviously easier said than done, and the results vary from person to person. There are also countless gurus, pickup artists, and relationship experts out there to provide advice. Evidently, not all of that advice is worthwhile nor conducive to your efforts. With that being said, for those of you still seeking a partner, what should you value when gauging your prospects? Appearance, status, wealth, attractiveness, values, personal background, or family history? With several attributes to consider, no wonder the task of finding a suitable partner becomes difficult. Today's discussion explores this predicament, and I will assert that the most important characteristic you should consider for a partner is mindset, or attitude. Furthermore, I will elaborate on why mindset trumps other attributes, and how your success with finding a suitable partner largely hinges on the extent you value mindset compared to other attributes. Ultimately, personal values stem from mindset, and it naturally affects how a person conducts themselves on a regular basis. But also, more importantly, it dictates how they respond to stress and hardships. To begin, why is mindset so imperative, and more imperative than other considerations? As aforementioned, mindset trumps other dimensions because it's the foundation from where they all originate. For clarity's sake, mindset will be interpreted or defined as one's state of mind, attitude, or method of thinking in terms of how they perceive and respond to the world. Mindset, simply put, influences behavior, also known as tangible conduct. We can comprehend why a person executes particular actions if we know their mindset. Fundamentally, mindset also includes personal values. What do you value? What do you believe is important and worth pursuing above everything else? Your mindset determines these values, or in the very least, it has a significant impact on forging them. And your conduct reveals to others what your true intentions are, especially in cases where there's an obvious misalignment of words and actions. You may claim to uphold one value, but your behavior indicates otherwise, and this paradox can be explained through the revelation of internal mindset or values. Anyhow, you're likely thinking, I understand why mindset is important in terms of my own behavior, but how does it affect my dating prospects and success in finding a partner? As previously mentioned, it overrides the other considerations because values and behaviors stem from mindset. First, I want you to uncover what your attitude is, what you value, because this step must be performed prior to the commencement of your search. Once you've discovered what you value, then you'll be able to gauge where others stand and whether they'll be suitable for you. Note, in terms of value and characteristics to look for, I'm not thinking at a base level. It's obvious that we're going to value physical appearance, or looks, status, career, etc. While important, remember that mindset takes precedence and these former dimensions are subsumed under its umbrella. Furthermore, don't underestimate the gravity of shared mindsets and values, because they frequently determine success in this regard. If you value having kids, then you should find a partner who also wants them. If you value physical fitness, then you should find a partner who also values that. If you value integrity, then you should also find a partner who acts with integrity. I can go on, but the principle remains constant. Possessing a shared mindset and comparable values is critical if you wish to maintain a stable partnership over the long term. Think about the previous examples again, but alter the circumstances. If you want kids, but your partner doesn't, then don't you think that'll cause friction at some point? If you value keeping yourself in good physical condition, but your partner doesn't, then don't you think that'll cause frustration and resentment at some point? I don't need to include the third example, as you get the idea and can see where I'm going. The point is that the old saying of opposites attract loses its validity once you see partnerships where mindsets and values are misaligned or diametrically opposed. The relationship may last for a while, but eventually it'll collapse because the tension due to antagonistic values becomes too great. Tension over finances is a common factor as to why partnerships end. Perhaps one partner is more frugal and less vainglorious, whereas the other demands the high life, to have all of life's luxuries and they wouldn't be caught dead without them. Each partner might be able to tolerate the other's views and perspective for a while, but once reality catches up, then it's feasible that circumstances will end in disaster, either in financial ruin to the detriment of both, or the more vainglorious partner will leave because their desires aren't being satiated. So, to summarize, mindset is imperative because a person's behavior originates from their mindset. Their conduct is a tangible expression of their mindset and what they value. Furthermore, you must determine what you value and whether the person you're considering dating possesses comparable values. Incompatible mindsets, values, and pathways are greatly inhibitive for success in the long term. Eventually, something has to give, and this will occur with either yourself or your partner. The other horrendous alternative, besides the relationship ending in disaster if you failed to prevent it from happening in the first place, is resignation, where you've resigned yourself to remain stuck with someone whom you've gained massive resentment for because you've let them have their way. That truly sounds like hell when you think about it. Digressing now, you might object and say, but what if the principal characteristic that I value in a partner is something different than mindset, like physical appearance, wealth, or status? I'll respond by remarking that maintaining this value isn't the best policy and will lead to disaster if you aren't cognizant. If that's not enough, here's a personal experience to drive the point home. Prior to the robust relationship that I currently have with my girlfriend, we're just shy of 16 months together, I was interested in a few other women to varying extents. This was a few years ago and things didn't pan out because while they were physically attractive, our mindsets and values weren't similar or they were incompatible. This was especially true regarding core issues in my mind that were make or break, and I wasn't going to compromise on them. Note that there's nothing inherently wrong with possessing values that you won't compromise on. It's called having principles and you should preserve them. Values like raising a family, having a stable career, and acting with integrity, among others, are examples that you could maintain. In the same vein, some compromise is necessary as you're unlikely to find a perfect partner who checks all the boxes in the manner you envision. You'll also have to determine which flaws you're willing to tolerate because each person has them, and that's part of the compromise which is necessary to maintain the partnership long term. Anyhow, one woman that I previously liked and whom I've discussed in previous videos is the most direct example of how our relationship wouldn't have been successful due to our divergent mindsets. Long story short, although we shared some values, there were also drastic differences between us. I was more introverted, she was more extroverted. I was more level-headed, whereas she was more unpredictable. She valued going out to social events frequently, whereas I didn't see the merit in venturing out every Friday or Saturday night. While she was physically attractive and had some positive qualities, the deal breaker for me was that she was essentially aimless and didn't appear to take anything seriously, not to the extent that I believed she should have anyway. Once the blinders came off and I saw the situation for how it truly was, I evidently couldn't continue. I realized that a relationship would never prosper between us and I stopped pursuing her, which is one of the best decisions I've made in recent years. Anyway, for the next 2 years following this chapter, I maintained that mindset was the most important factor for me and I didn't compromise on it. I still don't compromise on it to this day. This act of faith, because it truly demanded immense faith and patience, was rewarded when I met a truly remarkable woman who eventually became my girlfriend. We took our time getting to know each other and we discovered that our mindsets were closely intertwined, especially on the core issues like faith, political views, ethics, family, finances, and career. There's no doubt in my mind that circumstances wouldn't have proceeded so well if our mindsets weren't so aligned. I should note that we have different hobbies and interests. Not everything is exactly the same and we respect these differences. This is how everything should be, where you can express yourself individually while still being in a relationship with a person who respects you. Anyhow, I hope this personal story provides some valuable insights for you, along with hope that you can find someone suitable for you if you're still searching. To conclude, I acknowledge that mindset is one of many characteristics to consider when you're thinking about dating someone. Additionally, mindset doesn't necessarily remain constant as people can evolve their thinking in light of novel circumstances and information. Mindset can change for the better, but it can also change for the worse. Nevertheless, it persists in being the most reliable indicator of who you're dealing with. A person's core identity, values, habits, and behaviors tend to remain constant over a prolonged period once they've been established. I'm not attempting to oversimplify things, but I am asserting that you should be pragmatic. As I've mentioned previously, many problems exist, but there are also solutions to these problems if you're willing to discover them. Dating and relationships are no different, and while you can't account for everything, there are facets you can control. Your mindset, for one, and how it influences your conduct. Additionally, you can control how this directs your search, where you venture to look for a partner and what you believe is most vital in them. While I'm less inclined to remark that you should actively search for someone to date in the gym or the library, for example, I will say that if you desire for your partner to be physically fit and/or intelligent, then you'll find that they likely frequent those places. This is because, once again, unsurprisingly, mindset influences conduct. Where a person goes and what they do with their time is an indication of their values. Finally, I'll close with something to keep in mind. In the Bible, one verse that's frequently cited which addresses this matter is 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 to 15. The New International Version translation states, quote, "Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? What harmony is there between Christ and Belial? Or what does a believer have in common with an unbeliever?" End quote. Although the context primarily concerns a warning against idolatry, these verses are also used in the context of Christian dating. The warning for the Christian is to not be unequally yoked by dating someone who doesn't share the same values or faith in Jesus. You don't have to be a Christian to understand the merit of this warning. A house divided against itself evidently cannot stand. That's a reference to Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And indeed, the same is true for mindset. So, for those of you still searching for a partner, continue your search, but look for someone who shares a comparable mindset, especially when it pertains to core issues and deal breakers. You'll thank yourself later because you've done your utmost to prevent difficulties that would have otherwise occurred had you placed less emphasis on shared mindsets.